Mythic Rare here, and if you're returning to my channel, welcome back. If you're new here, welcome. And in today's whip and chat, we are going to be talking about the weather. Before I get into it, whip stands for work in progress, and chat is where we talk about or rant about what's going on in our personal lives. So, feel free to get out whatever you're working on, being it adult coloring, crochet, diamond painting. Even if you just want me to keep you company while you do chores or drive or whatever, sit back, relax, and enjoy because, weather is very interesting, especially where I live. So from last time, I went and talked about how I lived in Colorado, and then eventually I moved to Phoenix, and then on over to Oklahoma. Well, interesting weather in all three places. And then in Cincinnati too. Interesting weather as well. Denver I don't really remember too much because I was born there, but I only stayed there up until I was like 3 years old. And I remember like weird sirens and stuff going off every so often. They do get tornadoes just like we do, but it's not as prevalent. But they still get them. They're mostly known for, the snow and then like the monster hail, and like always during the late spring and the summer, I remember there always being storms, having to get out of the pool early and stuff because of that. Kind of a bummer. I understood that it was a thing when I was a little kid, but like didn't really know all what was going on. When we moved to Phoenix, we knew that they get afternoon thunderstorms as well, but theirs are a little bit different. Phoenix has like just straight like 3-4 months of nothing but sunshine pretty much from the time of February all the way up until I want to say like 4th of July. And then right around that time, usually we would feel the dew point rise. It would be soupy in the morning. And we knew that monsoon season was there. I think it was like 3 consecutive days of a dew point greater than like 50 degrees is the technical definition. And then you'd be considered like monsoon season. Yeah, what happens in Phoenix is, and this is like true for all thunderstorms, regardless of where you're at in the country, if you have warm, moist air at the surface, and then you get your daytime heating, it's kind of like similar to when you put a pot of water on the stove. I think Reed Timmer uses this analogy or has used it before, and this explains everything perfect. So it's like your atmosphere is like you've got a pot of water on the stove. And what happens after time goes on and you have it on the coils or you have it on the flame, you start to see little bubbles and stuff rise in the water. And you can see moisture bubbles, like these little cumulus clouds all of a sudden start to rise in the atmosphere. And oftentimes but they don't like really do anything. It's because they're basically hitting a cap. A cap is warm air aloft. So it's like the atmosphere is a pot of boiling water and you have a lid on top of the pot. And eventually as that water boils, it has steam. The steam will gather beneath the lid of the pot and it'll make everything be super fogged up on the underside of the pot. Atmosphere does the exact same thing. If you have moisture, if you have like clouds hitting the cap, you will all of a sudden see your sky go from like clear blue, like little fluffy cumulus clouds to all of a sudden it gets overcast. And then if you have enough pockets of rising air constantly hammering away at that cap will eventually deteriorate. And what happens when you have a pot of boiling water on the stove? It has a lid on top of it. It's now a rolling boil. And you pull that lid off. You're gonna see the steam expand upwards. And that very rapid rise in the clouds is how you get thunderstorms. And a lot of the time they'll have like your stereotypical anvil-shaped top once they get so high. And like in Phoenix, when I was working in my call center and I was sitting in front of the window, like I could literally see it happen during the summertime as I went about my shift. Like I could just like look out the window, see like the clouds and stuff rise in the atmosphere, and then they spread out into quite literally an anvil shape. They really, really do look like this. And then you all of a sudden get a severe thunderstorm warning. In Phoenix, Tucson, Las Vegas, like that area of the Southwest desert, they do not have wind shear. So you'll get shelf clouds and stuff like that, but they don't have shear, and the updrafts are relatively weak compared to out here in Tornado Alley and Dixie Alley. So what happens is after a while, the moisture just keeps on rising. It creates a thunderstorm. And after a while, when there's no more warm moisture to feed the thunderstorm, it collapses. So we have a lot of downbursts, a microburst. In Phoenix, we have those types of thunderstorms because there's just not enough shear to produce tornadoes. Some of our more savage storms during monsoon season will have hail, and if it's typically not hail that will like bust out a windshield, like no gorilla hail like we have out here, but it's hail where it's like if you get a really good hail core over top of your neighborhood and stuff, you might have a puncture inside of your tank for your AC unit, and then you have to either get that replaced or if it is like really, really bad, you'll have to replace a whole AC unit. It can be a pain in the butt that way. Because, 120 degree heat during that time of the year, and you've got no AC, yeah, like, good luck. You're either spending all of your time in the pool or you're spending it at a hotel. And then the other thing that happens too is like sometimes trees may get uprooted, or saguaro cacti may even get uprooted. I want to say August of 96, we had over in East Mesa, we had a monsoon storm that was like that. I remember getting out of school. It was like quite literally first day or second day of school, so we had no homework at the time. I just straight got to go out, go play, and there was clouds off in the distance, like didn't really think anything of it, and then all of a sudden my friends had their parents tell them like go inside, there's going to be a really bad storm. I was the only kid left outside, and I didn't realize what was happening until I saw the wall of dust. It's because our thunderstorms in Phoenix, they have downdrafts because they take more of the, because we don't have the right kinematics for tornadoes over there, so they have more of a downdraft situation as opposed to more of an updraft situation over here. And when the rain is like coming down super hard, hitting the ground, the wind and the rain just like hitting the ground, it will cause all of the dust to become this huge wall. And if you guys have ever seen the movie The Mummy, like the very first Mummy, or if you've ever had a chance to visit out there, Phoenix or Las Vegas, or even the Middle East, and you see that wall of sand and dust just coming, like you have to get inside. And it was just one of those things where it's like I saw it coming and I was just booking it inside. And I mean, I thought that it was perfect timing because it's like, okay, well, you know, dinner's on the table, like mom just finished, blah blah blah. And we're sitting there eating our dinner. And I am just like looking at the lamp over top the kitchen table. And it is flickering 4 and 5 times. And the wind was super crazy. Like, we could hear the screen door that's like directly behind me. Like, the screen's all like being banged up against the sliding glass door on our patio. And you know, palm trees, if you've ever seen them, you know how they like every single tree does this. They like bend and flex with the wind, but especially palm trees, like they can almost be like that. And they will, and like they'll ride out the storm. The palm trees were pretty much like that. And all of a sudden, the lights like flickered and they did not come back on. I was like, okay, this is the thing. So I'm all asking my parents, like, what do we do now? And then they're just like, well, whenever this lets up, we will have to take a walk around the block because we should probably see the storm damage. And as soon as the storm let up, everybody up on our street came out and we together walked as a neighborhood all around like the big block. And we saw that the soccer field that was at the end of our street that got completely filled up with water. We saw our neighbor's cacti was a big saguaro cactus, like that got uprooted from the storm. Like other people's cacti got too. There were palm fronds everywhere. Some people had tiles. They were finding tiles in their front yard because it was strong enough to take off tiles off of people's roofs. And like on the main, like up by our main cross streets, we saw all the telephone poles completely like toppled over. And at first I thought like it was just our one block. But come to find out later, you know, having to go over to different streets and stuff, like running errands and actually seeing the storm damage, we wound up seeing that it went almost 2 going on 3 city blocks. And some of those poles landed on people's houses, and they were trying to put tarps and stuff up on the roof. We had to hurry back and get back inside because we could see off in the distance that more storms were coming. And My dad had a little portable battery operated TV. He put some batteries in it, took it out, and he tuned in to the local news. They confirmed that more storms were on the way. And I could not sleep. I was so scared. The whole entire time, power had not returned because, you know, the extent of the damage. It was going to take our city utility, SRP, kind of a while to replace all of that. TLDR, we went with power for almost 24 hours. Because the next day, one by one, they had to like go and put all new poles, and then they had to string them, and yeah, it was pretty nuts. But Phoenix is like kind of smart though, how they plan the city, because they have a lot of their power infrastructure underground. Like a lot more than what you would typically see in some of your older cities. Kind of like whoever planned Phoenix is actually pretty smart. So even though all the power poles were like still being worked on and stuff, they got electricity rerouted to our house in a reasonable amount of time. You know, my school was still there. Playground and stuff, parts of it were flooded. But like it was one really savage storm. That was not August of 96. That was not the one that took out our AC unit. It was the one that happened a couple years after. But yeah, like it was pretty bad storm damage. Yeah, so I just realized that I was filming for like 20 minutes and my phone was not at the right. It was doing everything vertical instead of horizontal, if you know what I mean. Anyways, I just, you know, dumped out all my drills and stuff because done with what I was working on. This tray, by the way, is from Temu, and I love it because 6 colors all at the same time, perfect if you're working on anything confetti heavy, but downside is you can't hold very many drills in there. And then the pen is from Enabler's Outpost. What's in here is chit, Romanian for putty, not the S word. Coconut, love it. Somehow to me it smells like bubblegum. And then what's inside of my single placer is super sticky. This is patty wax. I very much loved. Anywho, yeah, summer of 96 was some pretty crazy storm damage. But after being in Oklahoma for a couple years now, I can honestly say that Cincinnati is like the next. Cincinnati and Denver are like the next level up from Phoenix in terms of weather wackiness. because Denver, you get like all the snow and stuff mainly. I remember like right before I moved, we had snow piled up halfway on the deck out back of our house in Denver. And then they do occasionally get tornadoes. They're mainly known for the snow and then for the for like the hailstorms and stuff in the summer. So of course, you know, usually if you're having hail, you're not too far off from having a tornado. And I want to say that Cincinnati is crazy too, because they are kind of like Denver, kind of like Oklahoma, but Cincinnati mainly for like the crazy snow and stuff, but sometimes you do get the occasional tornado. And how I found that out is my uncle took me, some of my cousins, to go see Star Wars The Phantom Menace. It was the summer that they just released the prequels, and every seat in the house was full. And going into the theater, beautiful day, coming out of the theater, like the weather, the sky completely changed, and we were under a tornado warning. And I remember asking him, like, oh, is the storm gonna get us? And he's just like, nah, like, I'll just drop off your cousins and I'll take you back over to your grandma's. So he did that. And then, like, as we're getting closer to my grandma's house, sirens are going off and everything. And I was just like, Grandma, are you sure? Is it like coming for us? And she's like, no, it's 5 miles away. And I'm just like, it's 5 miles away. That is close. And then she's like, no, like you'll see what I mean in a minute. And then on the Weather Channel, it had the map of Hamilton County where she lived, and then the polygon was like we were pretty much at the back end of the polygon. Like everything else was like 5 miles east of us. And I'm just like, oh, okay, yeah, like if they say so, you know, because I was thinking with it being that close, like go down to the basement. But yeah, no, it was headed away from us, so that was good. And it's like we'll get the occasional tree that gets struck by lightning and stuff in Phoenix, but in Cincinnati, there was one storm where, like, I saw, like, just the big flash of light just completely take over my vision. And, like, the thunderclap happened so close to me that my ears were, like, just ringing. And then I remember looking at one of our neighbors across the street, like, looking in the direction of it, and I saw that there was a tree, like, from top to bottom, completely split halfway down, and the tree trunk and, like, all the stuff came, like, the half of it that came down, just narrowly missed somebody's car by inches. And then half of it was tangled up in the power lines. So after that storm, I was asking the neighbors, like, oh yeah, is your power all being weird? Is it flickering and stuff? And they're just like, yeah. Without a doubt. Whoever's car that was, though, they were lucky. Thankfully, haven't had anything like that happen on our property in Oklahoma. We have 5 acres and it's all wooded. So it is, of course, gorgeous in the fall, and then in the spring when they, like how they just all leafed out and stuff, it very pretty. But probably one of the more crazier storms that I had been in, though, happened not this past Wednesday, but the Wednesday before, like April 19. So, and me and my boyfriend went out to the dollar store just up the road, like doing a snack run and stuff, and I'm just like, yeah, it feels really, really soupy out here, and I'm just like looking straight up the sky, watching the clouds move across, like, dang, that's some sheer, and blah blah blah. And I'm just like very nonchalantly making these comments like, oh, the cap is gonna bust and blah blah blah. Like, I'm getting out of phone calls today. And everybody is kind of like, you know, you don't make jokes like that, especially here in tornado season. Like, everybody's just giving me that side eye type of look. And I'm kind of just like, yeah, I mean, like, they say it's a 2% day. For all we know, it'll just be our luck that, like, nothing happens. And that's initially what I was thinking. I don't know if y'all know him, but Mitch West Weather. I was watching him the morning that, like, everything went down. And if you go back to his morning video for April 19, you'll see Oklahoma City 2% day. We're, like, just on the cusp of all of that, like, the hatched region for hail and blah blah blah. I'm just like, whenever stuff like this happens, it just, like, misses us. With the odd exception here and there, it almost always misses us. So I was kind of just like, whatever. So I go about my day, I make food, I start taking calls, and then I see in the bottom right hand of my computer screen, where it, like, typically shows you the time, like the weather, the stock market, things like that, it said tornado watch. So I was just like, ooh, okay. I put myself in unavailable. I, like, pack my emergency bag, start taking calls again. Because, like, we've seen it where it'll go that far, but then, like, nothing happens. It gets leveled up to a tornado warning. Typically, like, in, like, past events, I will feel the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. Like, there's just something kind of eerie where like, you can feel it, like something bad is about to happen, and you can feel that, like, the cap is busted. Didn't feel that at all with this one, which was, like, really weird. I don't know, I guess because I'd been in Oklahoma City for a while. I'm just kind of used to all the changes and stuff with the weather happening very rapidly. I don't know. But, like, no sense of foreboding, like, nothing. But as soon as I saw tornado warning on my computer and I pick up my phone, I told my mutual passengers, I'm sorry, here's your confirmation number. I'm physically located in Oklahoma City. We had a chance of severe weather today, and we have a tornado warned storm in our area. I need to get to my safe spot. So I dismissed my call. They told me to stay safe, all that, and like I logged out of my phone, and we, like, my boyfriend and his family members, we all went into the car and we started driving because we do not have a storm cellar. I know you would figure that after the tornado in 99 and the one May 2013, that like every single house would have one. But surprisingly, they do not. We have neighbors who, like, on either end of us, who have storm cellars, and if it would have been like an EF3 or greater that's coming towards us, and it was like quite literally just a couple streets down, of course we would have gotten in with one of our neighbors and we would have just hunkered down with them. But we kind of don't like to impose either, not unless it's a situation where it's practically on top of us. We had about a 20-minute lead time, so we decided to dip and go to Shawnee. And at that point, we're kind of like making the decision, like, do we want to go up to Prague, or do we just like go back home? We were sitting in a Brahms. They are like Oklahoma's answer to United Dairy Farmers. They have a grocery section. They do like your ice cream and milkshakes and all that good stuff. And they do burgers and fries. If y'all are ever in the Oklahoma City area and you want to get some local eats, there you go. They're only like in here in Texas. I don't think I've seen them anywhere else. So, yeah, we make it over to Brahms. I haven't had dinner yet, so I get myself something to eat. And we're just sitting there watching the storm. And the storm that was headed towards our neighborhood, it funneled. It had an EF0. It like touched down in Tinker Air Force Base. Like very briefly did it have debris and stuff, but then it like lifted back up and recycled. That skipped over our area, but we had to get out of there because there was more stuff on the way behind that particular supercell that was coming up from Chickasha. One of my colleagues has a local saying, or she says that this is the local saying, the ones from Chickasha don't play. And it is so true, because it's like every single like storm season in the spring or in the fall, if something pops off in Chickasha, it is gonna be here in like the greater Oklahoma City area in like 20 minutes. So we're just having dinner or keeping up with the storm, and then we're hearing the staff in Brahms saying that they hope that all the guests clear out because they may have to get inside of the walk-in fridge in order to ride out the storm. And I'm just like turning back around in my seat to look out the window, and I'm seeing the sky turn like all these weird, like that stereotypical green, but then I'm seeing like just brown, and it's like this big black cloud that's moving across. So we're watching K4, and they're talking about how Cole, Oklahoma is being hit. And it was like down south of Norman. But this cloud was so big that even up in Shawnee, we could see it like just move across. It was so scary. But then I'm just like, wait, there's like, it is just getting super duper dark, and I could see something like coming for us. And my boyfriend's mom, she's just like, well, they're like, I can hear them talking about getting in the cold case, and like they're talking on K4 like something is gonna be heading this way. We should probably just go back home. So I go back home. I let my boss at work know what was going on. They're telling me, like, take this time off of the phones. You want to wait for that tornado watch to expire before you come back, just in case you gotta leave again. And I was like, okay, cool. What we found out when we got back to the house was that right after we left, Shawnee got hit by the tornado, and if we didn't leave when we did, we probably would have been stuck in Shawnee when the tornado happened, because there were semis that flipped over on the I-40. And then the college that's up there in Shawnee, they took some pretty hefty damage. And while Shawnee isn't as big as Oklahoma City or Tulsa, they're a pretty good sized population. And for certain things, if I didn't want to go downtown, like when I first got my driver's license and all that, if I didn't want to go downtown to do it, I would drive to Shawnee to do it. So, like, it's pretty eerie, just like seeing all of those places that I've gone through. I visited all the businesses and stuff like that. It's just, yeah, it's very, very eerie. Well, that is a testament to how strong Super Sticky is. And I probably want to get some washi tape. Okay, there we go. But yeah, I've this last week and a half or so since the storm has happened, we're still trying to figure out if that one Brahms that we went to got damaged by the storm or if they're still okay. I don't exactly remember the cross streets because everything just went kind of fast from us going there to getting food and stuff like that honestly I can't remember. But yeah, nuts, y'all. Storms in Arizona have nothing on Storms in Tornado Alley. Like, quite literally, the most savage monsoon storm that we could get will be just like your typical severe thunderstorm warning and stuff out here. Not to make light, though, of anything that, you know, like the flooding that happens usually in Scottsdale or over by the South Mountain. Like, storm damage of any kind, like, that just sucks. But it's like, Phoenix versus out here, you kind of have to go through one of these storms to really, like, know. But once you've gone through one, it's a whole nother level, trust me. And I feel super thankful that by the time we got back to the house, like, we had just completely dodged 2 tornadoes. And the gorilla hail that was forecasted went to the north of us and to the south of us. And we got hail, but it was marble sized. I came back out to my car the next morning and it was completely covered in leaves, but thankfully it did not wind up looking like Reed Timmer's car. Alright, so we're probably going on about an hour, maybe just a little bit under. So, yeah. Storm season, Oklahoma. And Arizona. Pay attention to those warnings. Turn around, don't drown. Common sense. It'll do wonders to keep you safe. Okay, see you later. Bye.